So, Georgi and Nino, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be presenting our study program, International Bachelor in Logistics. To the participants, thanks for joining. It's great that you're here. I hope that I can give you some relevant information that will make you more interested in this study program in Schweinfurt. All right, so I assume that all of you are somewhat familiar with the term logistics, because I guess otherwise you might not be here today in this webinar. Now, I also assume that most of you will have a somewhat limited understanding of logistics, because that's what most people have. So just last week, I went to a wedding, and at this wedding, I talked to a gentleman I didn't know before and told him what I'm doing for a living. And so he said, well, logistics, that has to do with truck driving and forklift trucks and containers. And well, that's what most people think when they think about logistics. And that's true, but it's also so much more. And logistics is one of the broadest fields. Whenever something is moving, whether it's people or material or information, then if this is supposed to happen in a somewhat coordinated manner, then we're talking about logistics, right? Personally, my professional background is warehouse logistics and in particular warehouse automation. So this is what I did in the industry, and this is also what I'm teaching at this particular university in this particular study program. All right, so a few words about our university. So the abbreviation is FHWS, which originally stood for Fachhochschule Würzburg-Schweinfurt. Now, in most cases today, we talk about Hochschule für angewandte Wissenschaften Würzburg-Schweinfurt, which nobody who is not native German can ever pronounce. So for the purpose of this presentation, I will always say FHWS. Also, we might actually get renamed in a little while. So this is probably going to happen in the course of next year. We will be renamed to Technical University of Applied Sciences, Würzburg-Schweinfurt. So this school was founded in 1971 and as such is one of the oldest universities of applied sciences in Bavaria. And we are also one of the largest ones with 2 locations, one being in Würzburg, which is a beautiful city in the north of Bavaria, and the other location being Schweinfurt, which is not quite such a beautiful city, but a very practical city for a number of reasons. Schweinfurt is a very industrial place. And what I mean by that is that there are a lot of big companies that many of you will know, like ZF. I apologize for the background noise. That's my 7-month-old daughter. So Schweinfurt hosts a lot of international companies like ZF, Bosch Rexroth, SKF, among others. And so there is plenty of opportunities for internships, for work. And the population is quite diverse and international, to put it mildly. So it is quite an interesting place, and it's also one of the most affordable places in Bavaria among the bigger cities. In Schweinfurt, we have 3 different locations, 3 different campuses, and we are located, so this study program, International Bachelor in Logistics, is located in the Faculty of Business and Engineering, and we are in a brand new building that opened in 2019. So it was basically not used for the last 2 years. We've just finished the first on-campus semester after COVID, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic to be back on campus. All right. Now, most importantly, I guess, we should talk about the contents of the study program. Now here you see an overview of all the subjects, of all the core subjects that are part of the curriculum. Now let me say this. This is currently changing. We are launching a completely revamped schedule as of the next winter term, but the contents mostly remain the same. The sequences change. Some subjects we drop, some new subjects we introduce. So all the orange colored subjects that you see here on the screen, those are like in dark orange, those are logistics modules or in some way related to logistics. So we're looking at things like operations management, transportation management, material flow systems, which is basically simulation studies, supply chain management, business processes in logistics. So something that we introduce in the next semester is system design for warehouse automation. That's what I will be doing, and also sustainability and sustainable logistics, which is also something that I will be doing together with an esteemed colleague of mine. And what we do in this study program, in this study subject that is called, I actually can't see the full name here because Zoom is blocking the window. Anyway, it's design, I guess the name is Design of Intralogistics Systems and Robotics. What we do there is we investigate how automated warehouses function. We investigate how we can design automated warehouses. I guess some of you have seen videos of Amazon or other logistics companies using robots in their facilities. This is the kind of stuff that we're doing. We design the systems that include the robots and make them work efficiently. All right, so I've included a link here that gives you an updated version of the contents of the study program. It doesn't look as pretty as on this slide, but at least you can find a table. And if you have any questions about the contents, please feel free to reach out to me or to any of my colleagues anytime. Now, there's a couple of things that are special about the study program. I mean, you can study logistics in many places, but we believe we are special. And some of the reasons why we are special I have included on this slide. So first of all, I think one of the most important things here to say is that in the core curriculum, we have 2 industry projects that every student has to go through. And these are projects where groups of students work with a local company and solve a practical problem. And this practical problem can be pretty much anything that is important for the local company. So examples include, for instance, complete warehouse redesign projects, simulation studies, data analysis, the development of technical gadgets in the laboratory, and many more things. And we do this for several reasons. We want to maximize the exposure of our students to professional requirements. We want them to work with companies, because one thing we notice is that many students are very shy when it comes to working with companies, and they should not, because they actually can do many more things than they think. So this is something we want to show them and teach them and demonstrate them. Another reason why we do this is that students are forced to engage in project management because they work in a group, they work on a complex project, a complex problem, and so they need to have a project manager, they need to plan out the projects, they need to define milestones, they need to stick to the time schedule. All of these things need to be done. So it is quite helpful if students get some training on this, because that's also what they will be doing in practice later. All right, so a second thing that is notable about the study program is it is very international. Now, on the slide that Georgi showed, it said that 20% of our students are international. In the logistics sphere at our faculty, I would think it's probably more 50 to 80% of our students. And in my courses that I teach, it's probably closer to 90%. So it's a very international crowd, which is fun. And it's also very important to get used to, because many of the jobs that you guys will be taking on later are going to be in an international environment. So getting used to that is something rather important. Also, something that we are doing in our study program is we have included a research seminar. Now, you might wonder why or how that fits in, especially at the University of Applied Sciences, where the focus is on application of knowledge, not so much on research. Well, we believe that it's very important to teach engineers, because this is an engineering program, to teach engineers rigorous thinking. And it's very important that you guys will be able to tell apart sales nonsense that you can see, on the internet, on LinkedIn, from actual facts and from actual technical aspects of whatever you're looking into. So we want to teach you a scientific working style, regardless whether or not you're going to work in a scientific environment, because the scientific working style is nothing else but a professional, no-nonsense working style, and we really emphasize that. Something else that we emphasize is the growing importance of warehouse automation and robotics, because warehouse automation is one of the most exciting areas of all areas in logistics. And in all of Europe and the United States, we face the problem that we actually have quite a labor shortage. And working in a warehouse is not a very popular thing. It's not fun. So not a lot of people opt for working in a warehouse as, for instance, order pickers. So what we should teach our engineers is, how can we replace people with robots? How can we make automation work for us? So people don't have to do these these jobs that are not fun and that are badly paid. Something else that deserves mentioning here is our laboratories. Now we have about 10 different faculties in our school, but if I just look at our faculty and if I just look at our study program, then we have 3 laboratories that stand out. One is the SAP lab, and I guess most of you guys have heard of SAP. It's a very important piece of software, and actually students can get an SAP certification at our school, which is something that many students take advantage of, and actually many of our alumni, they end up in some kind of SAP related job, which is also typically well paid. We've got a full-blown logistics lab with conveyors and robots and identification technology, and a workshop where we can build stuff, for instance, AGVs, just like 𝘱𝘢𝘪𝘥 has shown you earlier on his slides. We're also building AGVs sometimes. And we've got a well-equipped simulation lab with state-of-the-art software. Now, the kind of software that is actually being used in the industry. We have the same software, and we have very qualified people who teach simulation studies to our students. Now, the last special thing about our study program is this. Now, I am talking about the International Bachelor in Logistics in particular here, but we have a German version of that as well. Now, whether you enroll in the German study program or in the international study program, if you take a certain number of courses in the other language, so if you're German, you take English courses, or if you are international and you take German courses, you actually qualify for what we call the twin certification. So you receive a diploma that states that part of your study program has been in German or in English, respectively, which can be a huge advantage if you want to work in Germany, because even though Germany is an international country, and even though we have a high number of international students, and in some industries, in the international workforce, it is still not very common that internationals speak German very well. So if you can demonstrate that you actually do speak some German, that you have some German proficiency that has allowed you to pass these courses, that is a huge plus in your application for a job. So what do our alumni do? Now, many of them actually stay in the region because we have so many large companies in the region, but they pretty much work anywhere, mostly at some kind of technology company. So we have a lot of students who go into the automotive industry, BMW, Porsche, Volkswagen, and the suppliers like ZF, SKF, Leoni, Faurecia, Bosch Rexroth. So all of these companies, and Bosch, the core company Bosch, all of these companies, they have a leg in the automotive industry. We also have an increasing number of students who work in the warehouse automation industry, for instance, at SSI Schäfer, at AutoStore, or in 3PLs, third-party logistics providers, companies that do warehouse operations and transportation on behalf of other companies, such as DAXA, DB Schenker, Geist Group, and so on. HelloFresh is another famous example of a more recent company, a startup actually, where some of our alumni end up working, and very successfully so. All right, so this is what I wanted to share with you. I've attached a slide with a bunch of links that you can look up at your leisure after the webinar. If you have any questions about this presentation, about the study program, or about our university in general, you can contact me directly, or you can contact my esteemed colleague, Professor Schmidt, who is the head of the study program Bachelor in Logistics at our university. All right, so thank you very much. And I hope this was interesting for you.